decisions. And so it's not something a government can readily control. This is to show you in the U.S. what happened. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2010. 2002, 2006, just look at the bottom line. The American workers, 46.7% in 2006, were covered by some form of sharing of profits, sharing of ownership with the company with which they worked. That puts them at risk in a great recession, but it also means that they're part of the system. And it seems to me that out of this recovery, we have to think about more ways to bring normal working people as partly owners and having a stake in the system. There are a whole bunch of studies that show this works, and I referred to them before. I have Garfield there saying, he calls it research. That's an insult to all professors in the world and to the Pasteur Institute, guys doing all this research. But in fact, what happens is fellow workers, when you have a shared system, they are going to go out of their way to make sure you work to speed. We don't have really this free rider problem that many have worried about. So there's a lot of studies of this. Korea has a very specific problem. And I show the workers from the Ssangyong and the police opposing the workers from the Ssangyong here. And this is, I called it dysfunctional medieval dinosaur labor relations system. And every government has tried to modernize this, and nobody has succeeded as far as I can see. There have been social agreements, and the social agreements are soon one side pulls out of the agreement, denounces it. It just, something has not worked here. And I just have some thoughts at the bottom here, because it's got to be, you cannot give up in trying to change this system. It hasn't stopped this country from growing. It hasn't stopped this country from recovering from the 1997-98 disaster, and it won't stop it, I'm sure, from recovering from this problem. But it certainly does not help build a middle class if you have a dysfunctional labor relations system. If the unions are not doing their job to improve the situation for lots of low-wage workers, it's tough to have pressures on the whole system to do that. And so I put down some thoughts here, but I said fly in Bill Clinton, and then better yet, maybe Nelson Mandela, to try to establish something that would change this system. Oops, there we go. The other way one thinks of sharing in a system and building up a system of more sharing, and the government has been pretty good, I think, on this in its recession, and certainly is thinking these ways in its New Deal, is to make sure that people do some job sharing, be it work hours sharing, or be it sharing through some wage reductions to save jobs. That's worth it. But then it has to be guaranteed that when the employment recovers, then the wages go back up, and the hours, maybe Koreans work a lot of hours, so maybe the hours shouldn't go back up at least that much. And what profit-sharing systems do is they guarantee that, and it's not clear the current system will be guaranteeing that. The U.S. provides partial unemployment insurance if we share hours. We never took that up in the 82, 83, the early Reagan recession. Now suddenly people are taking it up. There's been a change of mentality in our country towards more sharing of this. And then I just want to point out that there's a big return. When people lose a job, they suffer mentally. They're happy. These various happiness measures and mental health measures show they lose, and you're going to pick them up as a health cost later on in the system. So there's a good reason to try to keep them connected to employment. And the third point, which I think some of the programs here have also picked up on, which is the recession is a great time to have training because the opportunity cost is down. You'd rather have the workers stay with the firm and get trained, have the government fund some of the training, than to have them lose their job. Training, this is a good time to do training. Oops. Korea has a problem, but not just Korea. Every country in the world has this problem. Please make it finished. Okay, I'll be faster than I can. that you do have a situation of what do you do with the informal workers, and discussion there. Okay, finally, this gets to the first set of speakers here. The sharing of knowledge is extremely important, and that's our biggest tool in this process. Okay? So I give you a nice graph showing you the brains plus the computers. We now have a Singularity University in the U.S. created by government agency, NASA, and Google. And the singularity means if we combine all of our brains and all of our computers, we should just take off unless we screw up badly. We should do wonderful things. I will go very fast to my last comment since I was asked to be very quick. And I think the limiting force to this is this, I called it nuclear force of greed in financial markets. As dangerous as the North Korean nuclear thing is to world peace, the big banks going crazy with greed and driving us into another recession, we cannot afford another thing, so there has to be something about stopping them. So I say limit greed to raise incomes of the middle class, never. You'll never stop us from taking as much as we can, and those are the bankers over there. There's money over here, and we Americans have a very positive view, so you see Mr. Obama saying, yes, we can, and he just did say we're going to have no tax increases on the middle class. Well, we're going to have to pay for our deficit. That does mean tax increases on the wealthy, which is the only way to do it. I'm done.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Freeman, for your valuable and insight presentations. Now, I would like to open the session to one or two questions from floor. Due to time limit, we can accept only one or two questions. And anybody, any questions? No? Okay. That's right.
My question to last year, Mr. President announced our new vision, green growth. And you spoke today of new engine growth. Yeah. Can you explain the relationship, green growth and new engine growth?
Maybe I think Vice Minister Lim is the right person to answer the question.
I understand that he's representing Joseon Daily News, so I'm now in the like a press conference. My answer will be very brief, for the sake of time. The green growth is as I mentioned in my presentation, it's not simply a strategy. I think it's a combination of goals and strategy. We call them as a vision. And the new growth engine is it has some common grounds, between the green growth and the new growth engines. Because new growth engines, as I mentioned in my presentation, it is the new growth engine is trying to fulfill the requirements of environmentally friendly strategy. So I think it does match with the vision of a green growth, and the new growth engine is a part of the green growth vision, and it's a more detailed strategies and methodologies in order to obtain the final goals of green growth. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I accept just only one question.
Thank you. This is also addressed to Vice Minister Rim. I'm speaking as a member of the Invest Korea Advisory Council, Tony Michel. There seems to be a missing dimension to the new growth engine. I think the speaker from Pasteur Institute highlighted it. It's international cooperation and particularly FDI. Now, I learned that the budget for Invest Korea is reduced next year, and you have stopped funding the Masters in FDI at KDI School. Can you explain how you're going to put that growth factor back into the new engines of growth?
Yeah, I saw to you.
I'm sorry to hear that the budget for the international school will be decreasing. I believe that I already commented about the international dimension of our new growth engines. As I emphasized in my concluding part, I think the most important and most crucial strategy for us to get this the new growth engine is a open collaboration with not only with our domestic partners but also with our international counterparts. And the foreign direct investment is the major vehicle, to encourage collaboration with our international counterparts. So I believe that our emphasis on the expanding FDI will not be reducing and will not changing. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman Kwak Seung-jun. We are really behind the schedule,
Okay.
and the Prime
I'm
Minister
sorry.
is waiting.
Yes, so much. As she said, I'm sorry, unfortunately, that is all the time we have. And I think the both new growth engines and human new deals are part of our project of the hope as Korea move toward the future. And the success of this policy hinges on the government, the private sector, and the Korean peoples. And our combined strength will be the true driver of the new economy. I would like to thank you for our guest. Thanks all very much for your participations. And thank you so much.
Please give them a warm round of applause to Chairman Kwak Seung-jun and also for speakers, Vice Minister Im Tae-min, CEO Nervas, and President Hyun Oh-seok, Professor Richard Freeman. Thank you very much, and you may go back to your seats. Thank you. And once again, please give them a warm round of applause. Today, we had 3 plenary sessions covering a wide range of subjects such as mutual benefits, common prosperity, peace and security, building peace regime, inter-Korean relationship, and even Korea's future. By sharing our ideas and common vision, actually we are moving one step closer to consolidate everlasting peace and security in the Korean Peninsula as well as for the whole world. And I'm sure that Jeju Peace Forum has played and will be playing that important role to realize our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have announced earlier, we have a very important guest with us. Probably he is one of the busiest men in Korea, but despite his busy schedule, he agrees to join us to give us a keynote address. Prime Minister Han Seung-soo of Republic of Korea will now be joining us to give us a keynote address. The title of his speech is Common Vision for Mutual Benefit and Common Prosperity. When Prime Minister enters the hall, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prime Minister Han Seung-soo with a warm round of applause. Once again, please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Prime Minister Han Seung-soo with a warm round of applause.
distinguished participants and guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am very pleased to speak to you today and would like to thank the Jeju Special Self-Governing Province, Jeju Peace Institute, and the East Asia Foundation for their kind invitation. I'm very sorry that due to the unforeseen circumstances, that is, due to the 8th typhoon Narakot, I could not arrive early this morning, but had to fly into Jeju just now to deliver this speech. I'd like to take this opportunity to pay my deepest condolences to the victims and the families of the victims of the Typhoon Narakot, which hit mercilessly China, southern part of China, western part of Japan, Taiwan during the past few days. On behalf of the government of the Republic of Korea, I'd like to extend my warmest welcome to all the distinguished participants, particularly to those foreign guests, including Prime Minister John Howard, good friend of mine, who have come a long way to participate in this forum. Jeju Island provides the ideal setting and backdrop for thoughtful deliberation on Asia's vision for mutual benefit and common prosperity. Not only because of its beautiful scenery, gorgeous weather, I cannot say gorgeous weather, it's raining now, but delicious local cuisine, Jeju is rather an extraordinary place to speak and think about peace for two reasons. First, Jeju was designated as the Island of World Peace in 2005. It is a place where people and pundits gather to pursue a cultural, social, and political system which encompasses ideas and policies that lead to the practice of active peace. Active peace does not mean simply the absence of war. Active peace involves conscientious and sustained efforts to create, nurture, and ensure lasting freedom and stability. It is a state in which basic human rights are protected, human needs are met, and social justice fulfilled. Second, Jeju has served as a venue for various summit meetings of great significance, some that even changed the course of history. In 1991, the summit of Korea-Soviet Union held in Jeju Island played a crucial role in paving the way for Korean-Soviet detente. The first ROK ASEAN Commemorative Summit was also held here in June this year, adding a new chapter in the history of Asian regional cooperation. I hope that today's forum will be another leap for Jeju Island in becoming a center and catalyst for world peace and East Asia's common vision. Ladies and gentlemen, before sharing my thought on new regional governance and common vision for East Asia, I like to briefly reflect upon the international environment surrounding East Asia in the 21st century. Due to the advance of globalization, we now live in a world that has become increasingly interconnected and interdependent. In this so-called flat world, where goods and people move faster, further than ever before, selfish pursuit of narrow interests never gets us far. The zero-sum paradigm is no longer valid in modern international relations. To understand, address the challenges of 21st century, we have to think and act together. Let me give you two examples. First, the financial crisis that erupted last year in the United States did not remain within the walls of Wall Street. It spread around the globe and affected the lives of people from Brasilia to Beijing, Accra to Amsterdam, Moscow to Mexico City, and London to Singapore. The solution to this crisis, likewise, could not be sought within the walls of White House alone, but through the frameworks for international cooperation such as G20 system. Within the past year, the two G20 summits in Washington, D.C., and then in London brought together leaders from both industrialized and emerging economies, clearly illustrating that current international crisis call for collective and collaborative action, not individual showmanship. Second, we must also take note of the increase in non-traditional security threats such as international terrorism, climate change, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and pandemic diseases. These threats do not respect borders or time zones, and therefore cannot be effectively addressed by any single country acting on its own. the key to tackling these challenges is international cooperation. Globalization has brought about a fundamental shift in the dynamics of international relations. Rather than holding into the antiquated zero-sum game, some win, some lose paradigm, we must learn to view international relations through a positive-sum game, a win-win paradigm. In this regard, it is encouraging that East Asia, a region that has been characterized by intense Cold War hostility over decades and where its legacy still lingers, is finally moving away from the zero-sum game of power politics toward harmonious coexistence and co-prosperity. Since the 1970s, a whole range of multilateral organizations for cooperation have been created within the East Asian region. These include ASEAN Plus 3, East Asia Summit, ASEAN Regional Forum, and the Korea-Japan-China Summit. Although they still fall short of constituting solid security mechanisms, their efforts are meaningful in that they point our region in the right direction. In particular, the Korea-Japan-China Summit, which was held in Fukuoka last December, was a milestone in the history of Northeast Asia. It was the first time in the region's long history, spanning several millennia, that highest leaders of 3 countries came together within the region and held their own summit. Up until then, the leaders of Korea, Japan, China always met on the margins or on the sidelines of the major international or regional summit meetings. At the Trilateral Summit, the leaders reached an agreement that they would continue to hold the summit on a regular basis. It was a trailblazing event which opened a new chapter of tripartite cooperation, would bring trilateral relations to an even higher level in the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe now is the time for East Asia to build a community based on a new vision for mutual benefit and common prosperity. Allow me to share my thought on what this vision entails and how it should be achieved. First, we should strive together to build a peaceful East Asia. There are many destabilizing factors that threaten security in the region. The North Korean nuclear issue is one example. Collective wisdom and pressure are necessary to deal with North Korea and solve the security threat it presents to Korean Peninsula, East Asia, and the world as a whole. It is only through the concerted efforts of related countries, particularly the 5 members of the Beijing Six-Party Talks, that North Korea would be convinced to give up its ambitious nuclear program and join the international community in promoting peace and stability. East Asia is also one of the most militarized regions in the world. According to a survey conducted in 2008, China ranked second in terms of military expenditure, with Japan ranking 7th and the Republic of Korea ranking 11th. Given this situation, the possibility of an uncontrollable military power race is always here, with tension and suspicion becoming key factors that may characterize regional relations. Continued disputes on territorial claims and historical issues could also inflame hostility and mar this relationship with resentment and distrust. Diplomatic efforts are crucial in order to prevent these latent problems, and thus it is imperative for countries in East Asia to actively participate and engage in multilateral security cooperation. Second, sustainable development and green growth constitute vital elements in the vision for the future of East Asia and the world. During the 20th century, the world was focused only on economic growth without giving any consideration to environmental consequences. Then the main paradigm was quantitative growth, which depended very heavily on the use of fossil fuel. Now, however, countries are becoming increasingly cognizant of the disastrous impact of climate change due to carbon emissions and of the need for low-carbon development and environmental sustainability. With the turn of the 21st century, all the countries in East Asia have been faced with the significant task of making the efforts for development more eco-friendly and environmentally sustainable. As a result, each nation has begun establishing a green strategy that aims for mutual benefit between the environment and the economy. In Korea, On August 15th last year, on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of the founding of the Republic of Korea, President Lee Myung-bak proclaimed formally, officially, low-carbon green growth as this country's new national vision. The Japanese government, for its part, presented its Innovation of Green Economy Society plan last April. Similarly, China, one of the largest energy consumers in the world, proposed the Resource-Saving Society Initiative and the National Climate Change Program. The respective concept of the vision for green growth pursued by each country are essentially the same. Thus, I believe that the close collaboration among these countries will engender a powerful synergy effect in the efforts to achieve green integration for a sustainable East Asia. Early in May this year, I had the opportunity to deliver a key speech at the 15th International Conference on the Future of Asia, hosted by Nikkei newspaper in Tokyo, Japan. In my speech, I emphasized green growth as the new frontier for regional cooperation in Northeast Asia, and suggested the creation of channels for dialogue and consultation in the form of a Northeast Asia Green Growth Network. Such network will be an excellent mechanism where policymakers and experts of three countries can gather and explore areas of green integration. It is not just in East Asia that green growth is gaining prominence. It may be worthwhile to mention that during my chairmanship of the 2009 OECD Ministerial Council meeting held in Paris in late June this year, the representing ministers of the OECD member states accepted that green could go hand in hand with the growth and unanimously adopted the Declaration on Green Growth. Green growth is now being universally accepted as a paradigm for future growth. Third, we need to transform the multilateral cooperation framework within the region into an East Asian community for mutual benefit and common prosperity. To realize this, all the countries concerned must gather their strengths to create a more concrete and stable cooperative mechanism. The Chiang Mai Initiative, launched last year to help resolve the Asia's liquidity shortage, is one example of a successful multilateral cooperative mechanism. Korean government played a leading role in the drawing out of this seminal initiative. Such a mechanism that promotes cooperation within the region is a cornerstone principle in the fulfillment of prosperity in East Asia. East Asia is recognized as a key example of the rise of Asia, and it is expected to be a new frontier in the 21st century. The strengthening of multilateral cooperation in East Asia may have a great influence on other regions of the world as well. Furthermore, the vision for East Asia that promotes shared prosperity may serve as a valuable baseline for the formulation of a vision for a world of widespread prosperity. In this regard, I strongly believe that achieving shared prosperity in East Asia will be beneficial and of great value for the entire world. Ladies and gentlemen, in only a few decades, Korea has advanced from being one of the world's poorest countries to the 14th largest economy. Korea's success story is extraordinary and unparalleled in world history. Today, Korea stands as a responsible and competent member of the international community, ready to take greater contribution to East Asia and indeed to the world. In particular, Korea is willing to play a more active role in the fulfillment of a common vision of East Asia. If you will permit me, I would now like to elaborate on the action plans Korea has embraced for the realization of this vision. I have three principal points. First, Korea's active participation is needed to strengthen the region's multilateral security cooperation. Above all, the resolution of the North Korean nuclear issue is imperative for the security of both the Korean Peninsula and East Asia. The Korean government is exerting sincere efforts for the resumption of inter-Korean dialogue, despite North Korea's continuous slander and provocative actions. While remaining firm in principle, Korea continues to strive to advance inter-Korean relations in close cooperation with the international community for the mutual benefit and common prosperity of two Koreas. I also believe that the Jeju process, which was modeled after the Helsinki process in Europe, can play a significant role in reinforcing the system of multilateral security cooperation in this region. The Helsinki process contributed much to the security cooperation in Europe when the region was divided by the Iron Curtain. I am confident that the Jeju process will be able to become a model of multilateral security cooperation, enhancing transparency and building trust among countries through continued dialogue. The fourth Jeju Peace Forum in 2007 called for the materialization of the Jeju process through the adoption of the Jeju Peace Declaration. I hope that this fifth forum will also be another opportunity to deepen and consolidate the Jeju process and lay a firm foundation for multilateral cooperation in Northeast Asia. Second, Korea is seeking to play a leading role in cooperation for green growth under the common vision of a sustainable East Asia. Specifically, Korean government has been pursuing a Green New Deal policy since January this year to put the new national vision of low-carbon green growth into policy action. The Green New Deal policy is an amalgam of a long-term policy of expanding growth potential through green strategy and short-term stimulus policy of creating jobs and revitalizing economy through New Deal. In short, it aims to create a low-carbon development while stimulating job creation. The Korean government is spending 50 trillion won, roughly $40 billion in the next 4 years, creating 960,000 jobs. Once the economy recovers from the current financial crisis, the New Deal portion of the policy will be phased out, leaving only green growth as the major economic goal to deal with. In order to successfully carry out the green growth part of the policy, Korean government announced a blueprint mapping out 17 engines of growth, with 6 projects in the category of green technology industries, another 6 in the state-of-art fusion technology industries, and the remaining 5 in the high value-added industries. The Korean government has recently announced the formulation of a green growth 5-year plan with a 10-year rolling plan, which is the first attempt of its kind in the world. I hope that Korean example will give rise to the similar efforts in other nations as well. In fact, I believe that sharing Korean experience on green growth with other countries will contribute to the achievement of the vision of sustainable East Asia. It was as part of these efforts that Korea held the first East Asia Climate Forum this May in Seoul, which resulted in the adoption of the Seoul Initiative for Low-Carbon Green Growth of East Asia. The Korean government also launched the East Asia Climate Partnership, which provides East Asian countries with project funding of $200 million over the course of 5 years. I believe that these efforts to share our policy of low